Brian,
Yes, Greg.
there's one man I truly fear.
Who's that?
One man who could stand up and face the juggernaut that is our dumb, handsome Mimbo governor, Jay Inslee. One man who is tough enough. One man who's smart enough. One man who just doesn't give a fuck. One man who literally does, like, could have been a hero to millions if he just ran campaign ads about how he just steals from office supply stores large, like, medium ticket items because he just can, and he doesn't give a fuck.
A guy who doesn't let no get in the way of him procuring the goods.
A guy who has a history of running, sometimes successful, being the face of successful statewide campaigns bent on crushing austerity, who has successfully appealed to large amounts of people outside of King County in the past, who has rallied the forces of, right-wing Washington to cut car tabs at any cost.
Greg, who is this man?
This man was honestly, I forget his name already because that's how fucking irrelevant. Wait a minute, Tim Eyman. That's who I was thinking of. Tim Eyman.
R.I.P. to a real
Totally
one.
fucking irrelevant. He might as well have died of the coronavirus. Honestly, we talked about it a couple weeks ago with Cassidy. Like, he could have challenged Inslee. He could have. Inslee only in this primary so far. So this is what's today, Wednesday.
Yeah.
This is the day. So we've had the second drop now. The 4:00 Wednesday drop is out. Inslee only has 51%, and the next, is this Culp guy with what, like 20 something?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
Which he's in the pedophile clown shooting himself in the dick and bleeding out category of Washington State gubernatorial
Yeah, to be
candidate.
fair, he did get the coveted Q boost. So
Yeah, it's going to be all Q all the time in this race. It's going to be great. It could have been, and that's just not going to be a winning thing in Washington. That he'll probably terrify you by talking about Q nonstop and still taking 35% of the vote.
yeah.
But instead of that, it could have been this dopey, chinless, perpetually 25-year-old frat douche who steals fucking office furniture and is a hero to millions for it. But he just completely ate shit. The distant fifth or something.
Yeah, I believe he got 6%, which
Holy
is pretty
shit.
pathetic.
Well, what that says is
He was in good spaceman territory.
yeah. What it says is it's what we've always known about Tim Eyman is that he's a fucking grifter. But he could have kept this train. I think this says to me this was just laziness. This is to me that he didn't run a real campaign. He wasn't really doing this.
Yeah.
He sent out some press releases. He officially filed. He didn't do. He tried to have one small rally at one point, I think, but he did not do it. He did not actually try for this because I swear he could have put up a fight. If anyone could have at any time in history,
If Tim,
it could have been him.
Yeah, if Tim was going to become governor, this was the time.
Or at least give Inslee a run for his money, or at least a real campaign.
If he's sincere in these elections, a friend or family member to sit down with him and be like, "It's over, Tim. Come on, man."
Right.
I think the most that he campaigned though is they put a bunch of Eyman signs up all along the bridge going over I-5, on the south side of Everett. They put Eyman signs everywhere.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think everybody just saw it and was thought it was just some QAnon shit or whatever. They're like, yeah, eye on the clues, we got it.
Well, that's it, right? You said it. If this was an earnest thing, then yes, someone needs to sit him down and go, dude, just walk away. It's over. You're done. Never try this again. But I don't think that's what's happening here. I think this was just him to keep his profile up, to keep the fun going, to keep the money coming in.
Yeah.
He has been in trouble legally, allegedly, for basically skimming campaign funds from multiple campaigns he's run allegedly.
Yeah. Also
and
king
just
shit.
paying himself,
Allegedly.
right? Like, yeah, again, hero. Could have been a hero to millions. A fucking Robin Hood figure. In this day and age, oh my god, like, you know, he could have made himself, like, a real, like Trump type figure, but without the crazy QAnon shit or the rambling, like, insanity. He could have been, like, a Trump for Washington.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, I stole money from, of course, I took, these campaigns I've been running,
Yeah.
How do you think I got this big house? Why do you think I'm rolling around in this Escalade? Like, where do you think this comes from? Yeah, our system is fucking crooked. Yeah, the streets, they're lawless. You can just walk into Office Depot and steal whatever you want. If you have the fucking stones, that is.
Yeah, I mean, if he had leaned into the guy who stole the chair, then I think, he would have made this a real race. But,
And embezzled the campaign funds,
Yeah. But as is, 4 more years of Jay Inslee. Jay Inslee's going to kill like 10,000 Washingtonians with his COVID response and get reelected. It's pretty astonishing, actually.
This is a shitty country, Brian. This country really sucks. That, I mean, this will haunt me to my grave, that Jay Inslee will be a hero. If somehow Biden fucks this up and Trump is reelected, we'll be electing Jay Inslee in 2024.
No, we'll
President
be
of the
running
United States.
Jay Inslee in 2024.
Oh, yeah.
Who will then lose to
Trump for a third term somehow?
Yeah, an even more hilarious character, you know. But yeah, just astonishing shit. So, cool. So R.I.P. Tim Eyman, dead from coronavirus at, let's say 54.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Welcome back to the Seattle Sucks podcast, the podcast that got 100% of the vote for zaniest drive time podcast. Thanks, Washington.
No, I do the honks, Brian. You don't get to do the honks.
Well, Greg, now's your time.
Nope,
Now's your time to shine.
I don't honk on cue, okay?
Well, don't worry. I got a little effects board at home.
Not your trained monkey.
So, well, we're back on the boat. I'm with Greg, surly as ever.
Brian.
Greg's boat has moved.
I don't want to talk about that. We're not talking about that. I am not happy. I was moved 2 slips closer to the street. I now feel like I'm barely even in the water. I can see my car from here. Yeah. I am being assaulted by the fucking street lights, to another dimension. Like, they're portals to hell. Like, I feel like I'm floating closer to at night. If I move the wrong way, I've had to throw something up on my lifelines just to block my window, because I have no shades in the V-berth. It's the only place I don't have curtains on the port lights. But
another boat project. But like a true man of the sea, every time you move closer shore, you lose a little power, right?
Well, and I've been asking to get farther out.
Yeah.
Because I just want to be farther from the street and more into the canal, closer to the cement factory and the gravel barges, and maybe a little more wake, like a little more rocking from constant boat traffic. You know, that would be my hope if the boat is never steady, ever. Yeah. But then I got a new neighbor. Like, it's a big fucking a wide sailboat. It's longer and wider than mine. And they tried to squeeze him into the spot next to this, and it's like he could barely get out. It's also a big full keel boat that's not as maneuverable as mine. And so they're like, oh yeah, we need to cram you in, which now it is going to be a bitch to pull out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, harder than it wasn't. It's possible. It's not really that big a deal, but harder to do by yourself, because I could get out of this marina by myself if I needed to.
Yeah.
before. And so
Now,
you're gonna need some crew to
Greg's like the Seattleites when they parallel park who like have to unload the car so that everybody can give directions. That's him because you have a big fancy boat right behind you, and I just say back into it.
I mean, yeah, that is kind of how it works in a marina. You just sort of bounce off shit. They say like, don't go any faster than you're willing to hit something. You know?
Full speed ahead for me.
That's not even what I'm grumpy about, though, Brian. Today, I had. I don't know if I can even say it. I had to work.
This is horseshit. Is this because they took away the $600 benefit on unemployment?
Basically.
Were the Republicans right? Did this force you back into the ample job market where there's plenty of opportunity for a young, scrappy go-getter
you
such as
and
yourself?
me and the 3 personal friends of mine who actually listen to this podcast? Yes. Yes. If I was getting the 600 still, I'd be like, fuck off, I'm not taking this job, go eat my shit, because I'm not passing up a week of this free-ass money.
Mm-hmm.
No way, fuck you.
Yeah, especially when you know it's for a limited time only. I mean, come on.
Eat me.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, no, but since that's gone, yeah, the first, to be fair, my first job offer in many months, I took it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work today, I work tomorrow. Doing a commercial, which is funny that those need to exist at all, but especially now, would be even funnier if I were to tell you what the commercial's for, but I'm not going to do that. That'd be blowing up my spot a little too much.
Mm-hmm. You have to you have to subscribe to Patreon to get that sweet Greg narking his fucking jobs out content.
Yeah, I'm going to tell Brian right now, and we'll just preserve his reaction on the track.
This is like was it the end of Magnolia or whatever, where they whisper to each other and you don't know what it is?
Shut up, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
How do you like that?
It's good. It's real good.
It's pretty good. We can do a whole episode on that shit.
Yeah.
We're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're not gonna.
We're not gonna because Greg is currently at his job casing the joint for us to do a zany heist at some point.
Yes, zany heist. That's what I'm going to call all of our future plans. Yeah, I had to sell my labor today, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Very, foreign and unfamiliar thing. It was a very confused, alienating, sort of weird feeling, which itself was very familiar because that's how I feel every time I go back to work after being out of it for even a few days, a week, 2 weeks, a month.
No, that's real.
Which is the story of my life.
I always forget this because unlike Greg, I'm not unemployed all the time. But currently, because I'm working from home mostly, and I only go into the office on the rarest of moments. But you do forget how unnatural it is to work a wage job when you just don't do it for a while, and then you realize wait, these fucking people that I don't even have all this fucking say over how I spend my life and my time and what I do with it.
Yeah,
it's an
and
interesting
for
thing.
What?
Yeah, and for not much in return, to be honest.
Very little.
So,
very little. This is a decent job, but still.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, with the names that you dropped to me about who you were working for, I think we can all agree there's a lot of money involved.
There is a lot of money involved in a lot of people. The work that a lot of people do, Brian. They just don't tend to see much of it,
So, Greg, what you're saying
is a called class, Brian.
You went into your work, you did your job, right? You produced value for which you're given a wage, but there was a surplus left over that was then seized by your employer.
Honestly,
a surplus value. No, in your job, this totally breaks down because your job is bullshit. There's nothing.
Here's the thing, Brian. Yes.
Under communism, your job would not exist. Let's be serious.
100%. No, I don't know. I mean, you need to communicate. Okay,
Somebody's got to be a
specific-
communicator.
You don't need to be advertising. Okay, the specific thing I'm doing to this job, no, would not fucking exist. And advertising, a lot of the dumb shit that I work on in advertising would not need to happen. But you're describing like the basics of how like capitalist wage exploitation works. In my case, I make sure that, generally speaking, that there is no surplus in my labor in particular.
That's
okay,
the Gregory Thomas promise. Is,
like
there will be.
Like, I work pretty hard at assuring there is no surplus whenever I possibly can.
Yep.
I mean, what am I always doing, saying on the job, telling the people I work with around me? First of all, if you're not stealing from your employer, you're a fucking stooge. You're getting ripped off. Second of all, you can just if you do as little as possible, and be as lazy and useless as possible, but still enough to get by. Yeah, you know what? You're not gonna, your career's not gonna take off like some other people you may know and work with, but you may also be closing that gap of that surplus over your wage. You know.
Well, also,
I work for what I get paid. Now, do I really make? No. You know what? There is a surplus, but man, it's razor fucking thin when you employ Greg Ryan. Okay.
Well, the thing
not
is,
a lot of Martian there.
The thing is that you know, the job's not making a lot of money. But the thing is, if you work slow at your job, no matter what it is, you're the real job creator. Right? You know, you go into the factory, you do your job very slowly and poorly. Well, they're gonna have to hire other people to come in there and give you a hand, and that's a real job creation. So, everybody, we're in a crisis right now. Work slower. Be bad at your job, like much worse than normal. Break things, knock things over. Just go as slow as humanly possible. Whenever they look at you and go like, "Why can't you do more?" Just look at them blankly for 5 solid minutes without saying a word, and then walk away. You know, this is the kind of struggle we need right now. Greg, not all jobs are as easy as your job. Some jobs involve running for office. And we just had an election here, and that's what we call a transition in the biz.
First of all, it's called a segue, you fucking idiot. That's not what a transition is.
Greg, you don't get paid the big bucks for no reason.
You dumb fuck.
You don't get paid the big
Secondly,
bucks for nothing.
you didn't, I mean, I would have made it about like a job interview.
No. I totally meant to segue into something we're doing later, and then halfway into it, I realized like, no, we got to do something else, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm committed.
Just like we do in this business. Yes, Brian.
So
also sucks at his job.
Yeah, I'm taking up the very pledge that I put out there. I walk the walk. All right, you know. So yeah. Half-assing this podcast job as much as possible. Yeah. I would love it if a third person, maybe somebody in the tech industry, would come back to the boat and
we
help.
Can really use a kind of a tech perspective on this show.
Do some lifting.
I've often said.
Yeah. Oh well, lost to the woods.
Yeah.
But so we just had our primary elections to decide who's gonna represent this awful.
They were our primary elections.
Awful state.
Seattle Sucks podcast held a primary election.
Yeah. I mean, really surprised at the turnout. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Wow.
So right off the bat, Governor Inslee, I guess, is getting reelected. Fuck that. But yeah.
Explain this cult guy to me again, though. He's a Q guy.
Well, he's a small town cop who's running a Blue Lives Matter fucking campaign. Now, I just knowing who these people are was like, we're minutes away from a Q drop from this guy. Like, I don't know.
Brian,
I don't know. It's the fact that he's
cop whisperer.
Yeah, I don't know that he's done it yet. He probably has, but I don't know. I have not looked into this idiot. But it's only a matter of time. Let's be serious.
I saw something about like alleged like Fuck, now I forget. There's so many fucking clowns. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, listeners.
Yeah, I believe Culp has some allegations against him, but who knows what they're about. Ultimately, it doesn't fucking matter. I mean, the Blue Lives Matter people are going to vote for him no matter what. Like, this is all sort of a fait accompli, right? We already know who everybody's voting for.
Okay, this will at least be an interesting race then. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not worried about Dick Janesley will pull it out, but it'll be interesting at least in that you'll have, a Blue Lives Matter campaign against the bleeding heart Antifa governor who sent in the National Guard fucking minute one on, June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Because people were marching in the streets.
Yeah. Literally,
And SPD was
one day
rioting.
after Trump was like, hey, you should send in the National Guard, Inslee was like, hey, I should send in the National Guard. So, yeah, I mean, just a lot of inspiration in that governor's race. Going to be very excited to not bother to vote in it.
Well, it's natural. I mean, it makes total sense. Like, this is the issue of the moment. This is gonna. This is what. This is basically what our election. Like, this is what how. Let me just rewind here. This is basically the function of elections in our non-democracy, right?
Yeah.
You get to now. Jay Inslee gets to have this immense pressure from the fascist right, the cop fascist black shirt right, to against any movement on changing the nature of the police state, right? So we're going to have this campaign where Inslee will be able to go like, look, I mean, gosh, these Republicans, so I gotta stand with the police because I gotta show them, like, we're not these crazy Antifa people.
Yeah, and
that's why we have elections, basically. That's it.
I mean, it'll all be an excuse for Jay Inslee to move to the right. So, ironically, Lauren Culp's allegations against him are about his refusal to investigate a child molestation.
Oh, that was it. Yes.
Case.
Ooh, that's dark.
So he's kind of like and look, this does not change my Q prediction one bit. He still could somehow be a Q guy. He's gonna be like, look, we gotta investigate the child predators. I mean,
I think you're
not
like
that one. But
you're alluding
Yeah.
to some sort of like false consciousness or hypocrisy or something. That doesn't even enter into it when you're talking about these people. When you're talking about a right winger, basically.
Yeah. So I look
these
very...
things are all instrumentalized.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Like the whatever meat there is to the Q stuff is instrumental purely. It is really just about that's just the dressing. The fact that it's if it gets down to it, it's like, wait, what's the plan? It's to break the Democrat pedophile ring or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like if they really have to explain it to someone, or like that's but really it's just, we're gonna kill the people we don't like, and there's someone out there who's gonna do it for us.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I can't wait for him to launch an enormous rally outside Comet Tavern because he thinks it's a pizza place. So
that would rule. Right, right there in Capitol Hill where all the good marches happen.
So who else we got running in this thing, Greg?
Well, I think no sense mincing words. I think what we're here to do today is to take due credit.
Yeah.
To due credit. We Seattle Sucks podcast. We were the first podcast to have Sheree Lascelles on as a candidate, and I think it's very clear from the results that that was a very effective boost, and that is why we now have in the 43rd a fucking race.
Yeah,
that's what you call the Seattle Sucks bum.
Actual good candidate in that.
Yes, a Yes.
From the show. From this show.
Yes.
This show made this happen. Let's be very
people
clear about
say,
this.
"Oh, this upstart Sheree Lascelles came out of nowhere to challenge Frank Chop," bullshit. Sheree Lascelles has a backstory, and it's going on this podcast. Sheree Lascelles has been engaged and active in this community of this podcast.
Yeah.
And
So
that is why they are now poised to really I mean, it's a fucking race. I mean, it's going to be hard. Like any of this shit, it's always going to be hard because they have the fucking money. Capital does not want to give up even its like ceremonial like fringe power. Like Frank Chop's seat. But like, yeah, they're going to fucking make it hard, but listen. This is a real race. As of today's drop, I'm looking at Sheree with 29% of the fucking vote.
Yeah. And a race
that's
that had,
a
I
big
think,
fucking
5
deal.
people in it or whatever. So to get around 29% is pretty good.
Now, Chop right now today is has 54%.
Yeah.
Now, you know.
Yeah, he's an incumbent.
And then over the next couple of days, as they close it, as they get the ballots in, you know, who knows? All likelihood could look, marginally, a percent or two better for Sheree, and worse for Chop. That's very possible over the next week or so. But anyway, it's gonna, it's be something like this. And
yeah. Well, and the big takeaway is Sheree is in the race.
Yeah.
And if our demographic research on our listeners is correct, you're all unemployed. Go to Sheree's webpage and volunteer.
Sign up to volunteer. I made some calls the other day,
There you
Sunday,
go.
I believe, into the 43rd. That was fun. Yeah. This is real.
Yeah. You could actually have a good representative in the 43rd for a change. And send Pork Chop back to his barbershop quartet.
This man is old. He does not need to be there. He's been a fucking waste of space. If the quintessential Seattle liberal who, talks good on all these progressive issues, but when when it comes to actually make shit happen, has made shit not happen, and has basically just, been known as Speaker of the House for, passing fucking Republican budgets,
Yeah.
So
do not be swayed by his 4-part harmonies or his sweet leather jacket. Frank Chop sucks ass.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any danger of anyone listening to this podcast falling for any of that. The danger is that, 2 or 3 fewer people than necessary volunteer over the next, 3 months. And make this happen and tell everyone they know in the 43rd. I'm sitting next to a pile of posters and stickers here, and hand sanitizer that needs to get up in the 43rd. I guess I got to go do that. Look, it's hard though. It's gonna be real tough. Frank Chop is an incumbent. People know his name. Look, he took 54% here. So it'll have to be, if it's going to be about putting in the work, but it's also going to be about a changing terrain here. I think it's about also keeping up the entire pressure of like the current moment and the movement for Black Lives against the cops, which Sheree has been very involved and outspoken in. Like, if we can change the political terrain and make people have different conversations, so I think it's all connected.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to do whatever we can. This is real. It's happening. 29% is huge.
Yeah. I mean, for somebody who is in a lot of ways an out of nowhere candidate, right? Doesn't have major endorsements from the Seattle Times or whatever, isn't in the press a lot or whatever.
Yeah.
To come up with that kind of number in a quarantine when you can't be knocking on doors.
Yeah. And the next,
pretty damn good.
The third place in that.
I mean,
primary,
pretty damn good, but because Sheree was on her show.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that made up for all that.
Yeah, I mean, the stranger endorsement, whatever. But
Nobody reads that.
yeah. The next in the race was Jesse Murray, who was also running, which basically makes up the rest of that the difference there, and also running to the left of Frank Chop.
Yeah.
So that's real. That's a real race.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if as this moment evolves, people will get more and more excited about throwing these old bums out and electing, powerful, radical, queer femme people to represent them instead of these like old, rich white shitheads like Frank Chop. Another exciting one in the 37th, Kristen Harris-Talley just fucking dominated. No incumbent there. And so this is like, I think I saw 51%.
Yeah.
So that's, she also got recently endorsed by Pramila Jayapal.
Also,
that couldn't have hurt.
Recently
Also,
endorsed by
but
the
more importantly, yes,
by the Mechanical Freak
by
website.
mechanicalfreak.website.
Yeah. And I think we can
yeah.
all agree that helped push her over the 50% mark at least.
Yeah, huge.
So
huge endorsement. The
Greg,
mechanicalfreak.website.
I just got a very important message here on our ticker tape that we keep in here coming in. It's from our lawyer, our show lawyer. And she's informed me that if you guys are actual natives of the area, if your boomer parents live around here, very important if they're in the 43rd that you seize their mail-in ballots and throw them away.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I've actually been informed by our lawyer that's legal and necessary. So
yes.
This is strategy. This is our next level strategy, guys. Seize the ballots, throw them in the trash.
And if you're saying, but what if my boomer parents who live in the 43rd are actually kind of cool and hip and with it and progressive? No, shut up. Statistically, there's no
They're
way.
not.
Just look,
Yeah.
we're not asking you to kill your boomer parents. We're just saying destroy their ballots.
Yeah, exactly. How by any means necessary.
We're not asking you to kill them.
Yeah, to be clear, by any means necessary.
Some might ask, what if they're holding them in their hands behind their back, refusing to give them up? I mean, we're not going to get into hypotheticals.
Yeah, exactly. I think that you're very smart, you're very creative. I think you guys can figure this out.
We believe in you.
Yeah. Just know that you have the power of the law behind you as you do
Yes.
this.
Yes.
So speaking of the power of the law, Greg, one of my favorite things happened this last week in that we had a official correspondence. And as a big fan of the 19th century, I love official correspondences.
Great.
So apparently a group, a rabble, if you will, tried to go into Snohomish County to go visit our dear police chief, Carmen Best, and didn't go well, which we'll get into. But Carmen Best, in the tradition of Jenny Durkin, wrote a letter to the city council to complain about it.
Just following from that example, she saw, wow, people marched on Jenny Durkin's house because they hate her and she sucks ass. She wrote a strongly worded letter to the council with demands and suggestions for action, and everyone was like, yes, good. This is strong leadership. This sounds very, level-headed. It doesn't sound like you are shit-faced typing with a laptop on your own lap in a hotel room because you're afraid to be in your house. It was like a good political move for Jenny Durkin. It ingratiated her to the council, and everyone was like, yeah, you've saved your mayoralship. No one wants to impeach you now. So yeah, Carmen Best, after Snohomish was attacked by a cadre of Antifa super soldiers in mech suits.
Yeah.
Also known as the Daily March. the Everyday March rather group.
Yeah. So they, I guess we'll let's go through the letter and then we'll get into the details of the march as we go through the letter. So this is addressed to Lorena Gonzalez and Lisa Herbold. I don't know if
the CEOs of Antifa.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm sad for them that they keep getting these letters sent to them, or envious that they keep getting these letters sent to them.
Send us a letter, Carmen. We'd love to hear from you.
It's such a bummer, too, because it's almost certainly was sent via email, and I really wish for the old days when this would have been like a handwritten letter, like delivered to the city council. I would have fucking put that on my wall.
Yeah, with like a wax seal on it. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, so it begins, Dear President Gonzalez and Chairwoman Herbold, I wanted to update you on recent events.
Great start to a letter, by the way.
Yeah, just to give you an update.
I wanted to update you on recent events. This does sound like an office email. Yeah.
Yep. Particularly, and this is where we get into a next door email, particularly those that occurred late last night. And it's like...
So,
all right, so now we've moved from recent events to a complaint.
Also, that's the only event.
Yeah, but I love this though. Recent events, as if we don't know what you're talking about, but you're gonna put that comma in there and really turn the story around for us.
Bet you didn't see where this was going.
A residence of mine in Snohomish County was targeted by a large group of aggressive protesters late last night.
Dude, just hands down. The best, whatever else comes after this, the greatest sentence in this is a residence of mine.
Yep. Hey, all you guys out there listening to this that are unemployed, who maybe are worried about like getting evicted, if you're one of the huge number of fucking people in King County who can't make rent or whatever, don't worry. Your police chief, who's been tear gassing you for months, has multiple homes. Is so fucking rich from beating the shit out of you, has multiple fucking homes.
From beating the shit out of protesters, but she's accumulated this wealth in a career of just oppressing black and brown communities, poor people, as the chief and previously a PR flack for the armed police state. A residence of mine. First, totally unforced self-own.
Yeah. Well, it's attempting to humble brag in all the wrong places, right?
It's like, I think she's just like, what she's actually in her mind?
Yeah.
She's saying like, you think you got at me. You think you got my number. You think you came to me in my den. You think you tried to come. You thought you were coming to beard the lion in its den. That was just one of my residents.
Yeah.
Bitch, I could be anywhere.
Yeah.
I could be at one of my other 5 homes. You're not gonna find me. I'm not shook by this. This is all. That's what this is. I'm not shook by this.
Yeah.
This is a technicality. This is just. Technically, this is a property in my name that some disturbances happen nearby. This has nothing to do with me being disturbed personally, right?
So, a large group of aggressive protesters. We'll point out there is a video of this, and that these marches have been going on for like 60 straight days, and nothing aggressive has really happened at them. But this is the standard language, right?
March,
yeah, this is the standard language, right? So, my neighbors were concerned by such a large group, but they were successful in ensuring the crowd was not able to trespass or engage in other illegal behavior in the area, despite repeated attempts to do so.
Repeated attempts to do so. Holy shit.
So
this is wild shit, man.
So we got to break this down. So the Everyday March has been extremely peaceful, like as far as all the marches have gone, right? Like this is not the march where the construction trailer got burnt by. Let's not say nuked these days, all right? Not after that A-bomb was dropped.
I've played enough Call of Duty to know when I see a nuclear weapon, Brian. That was a tactical nuke.
Yep.
Why do you think there's a giant crater in the ground there now?
The fact that tactical nukes entered the lexicon in like the 2000s is poison. So, Yeah.
Okay,
This
so
has been a very peaceful
back to what
march.
we were saying. The Antifa super soldiers
Showed up
armed
with
with
tactical
tactical nukes.
God, I wish it were true.
They rolled in with they all look. If you're a Snohomish shit kicker who has a giant truck for little to no reason and like a big fucking old Dutch colonial house in the quaint little sleepy old town of Snohomish, and you see a Soviet ICBM truck rolling down Highway 9 with a fucking rocket strapped to it, and you're looking at it and going, shit, that fucker can seat 4 people across in the cab. And then your dick feels small because you're looking at your F-350 diesel going oh man, I got the extended cab, but it's got nothing on that. Mine doesn't have
the enormous cup holders and console means that 2 in the front at best, you know?
Dude, you can check your brake fluid from the dash in that fucker. I mean, what am I doing?
But yeah, so interestingly, we have this video, and the neighbors, were they were upset about a large group. Now, if you watch the video, there's certain characteristics of the people marching and the neighbors that might make you think that it wasn't just the fact that the group was large that might have upset these neighbors. Let's just say that one group was a little less tan than the other group, right? Which is a way of beating around the bushes, saying one group was entirely white and the other group was mixed race with a large black presence. And I have a sneaking suspicion that was the terror that struck the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I want to yes and you. I think definitely, yes, the sight of young black radicals marching down the street probably scared the shit out of these people and they didn't like it. I also think, even beyond that, though, that this is, we've seen this over and over and over again. It doesn't help that these, when it comes down to it, when the moment actually happens, it doesn't help at all that these are black people and these dumb, white, exurban shit kickers are, that's enough when they see that, they're going to follow through on their plan that they might not if it was the moms coming down.
Yeah.
But in the first place, they have been told over and over on Facebook and Nextdoor and fucking Fox News.
Oh, and by their county sheriff. Adam Portnoy. Yep.
That these protests that have happened in Seattle are these violent riots that are destroying whole sections of the city and burning it down.
Yeah, I've been assured that Seattle's now a charred corpse that has just been burnt to the ground by many
Nuclear
of these people
weapons.
in Snohomish. By small tactical nukes. I've been assured by people in Snohomish. When I tell them I live there and it hasn't, they just say, "No, you're wrong. It has."
For the record, I've actually never played Call of Duty.
Craig plays games way fucking nerdier,
fuck
so
off,
do
shut
not
up,
fucking
shut up,
even try
shut
that.
up. The Turklust for Vienna, dude. All right, what? There's no getting around it. So they've been lots of communities in Washington State have been scared into fucking rallying based on this idea that this fantasy that they are primed for and ready for. This is the this is the Civil War moment these fucking freaks have been waiting for, and then they're able to bring in, just then you have some people who are maybe not quite as psychotic or ready for a civil war, but are able to be brought in on it because they're like, oh my god, these riots are destroying the city, and now they're going to come out here for some reason to our sleepy town. And this is the first time this has actually been true, so all the previous times this has happened, it's been just nothing, and people are, in Snohomish, this was a month and a half ago.
Let's go back to that. So about a month and a half, 2 months ago in Snohomish, the town of Snohomish in Snohomish County, a rumor went out on Facebook that Antifa super soldiers were invading the town. The sheriff of Snohomish County helped promote these rumors, Adam Fortnoy, who, by the way, also has told people that they don't have to wear masks because there's no actual COVID virus or whatever, and that he's not going to enforce mask orders. That's a whole other side story about just how insane fucking sheriffs are. But you can read about him, by the way, on mechanicalfreak.com website. But anyways, the point being is that he attracted a crowd of, probably 70 or 80 fucking freaks in Snohomish who all filled up the one road in town, who all had all their guns out and were just sitting in the beds of their trucks with their guns and baseball bats and stuff for a thing that never fucking happened, right? I think there was, 3 locals who were, had, Black Lives Matter signs on a street corner. And, these, just dozens and dozens of armed freaks fucking sitting out there. So, yeah, I mean, itching for a war just as long as they don't have to drive very far to get there.
Yeah. Look, the same thing happened. Actually, worse. It went worse in Squim a month ago, where this rumor went around that Antifa buses were coming in with fucking black bloc terrorists from the inner city, and then a mixed race family was driving their school bus that they live in to go camping out on the peninsula and got harassed and tailed, and people they cut down fucking trees in the campground to block the fucking road, so they were trapped in there and were surrounding them and shooting guns off. This is Klan shit.
Yeah. I mean, on the highway, they surrounded their bus with their cars on the highway and tried to force them off the road on the highway. By the way, I believe it is a free episode at this point, but if you check Radio War Nerd episode 238, Antifa Freakout, they actually interview a guy who lives up in the area. None of their
episodes are free.
Oh, well, whatever. Check it out either way. Steal it, do whatever you got to do. But they interview a guy up in that area who actually goes into all the details of the event we were talking about that is, quite frankly, fucking horrifying.
It's wild shit. I mean, in Oregon, the same things have happened. Yeah. And so what's funny is but it's always been for hilariously, no one was ever coming to these places. Yeah. Not even trying. Not even now. Yeah. Now, for once, someone actually did try to go out there.
Yeah.
These awesome people from the Everyday March. If I was going out there with them, I'd have been like, these people are ready. I'd have shown them some of those stories from Snohomish and that sheriff and been like, if you're going to go out there, you better bring 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So you can just walk over these people in their trucks. Yeah. But,
well, and they're all cowards, so at least scare them away. So basically, what happened, on the way to Carmen Beth's house is her neighbors blocked the roads with their trucks and sat there with guns and basically told the marchers they were going to shoot them if they tried to march on the public road.
These are unarmed. Yeah. And the guy's even saying that this is a private drive. Total bullshit.
And Sheriff Adam Fortnoy was there to participate in all of this, right? So a common thread in this whole story. But yeah.
This is... so this is Klan-type vigilantism. This is these people have been whipped into a frenzy, and I think, and here's the thing, I think it is true. These people, this was minimum effort for a lot of these people. They just drove out of their driveway into the road they live on and got their gun. I think a lot of these people are lazy shitheads who are not gonna actually engage. We're not gonna go out and start a civil war, but they are gonna stop you from coming to their town. But here's the thing, I think and I mean, this is kind of what I was trying to get at last week, maybe ineffectively. I think we can make fun of these people. I think it's very common to make fun of the online Civil War time people and I'm gonna take a and the guy who was posted that photo of the Glock next to his ramen in Snohomish, I'm now eating armed, and it's you're a loser, in your house, you're never gonna do shit. I think at the end of the day, that's true. I think largely these people are dangerous. It is these types of people who are murdering protesters. Showing up, but those are lone wolves. But you gotta, at the end of the day, the fucking sheriff was there. This is what I was trying to get at last week. I think on the left, we've made fun of this sort of online next door Facebook Civil War cohort,
Yeah.
as like they're not really going to be able to bring the heat, even though they've got all the guns. They don't have the energy, the stamina, whatever. And I think I think you're just leaving out this whole category of the cops who are organized. Not centralized, but extremely organized and ideologically rigid. And here, just like any Klan rally and just like any lynching, you had the fucking sheriffs there out in the street.
Yep.
Backing these people up.
And it's important to know that in America, how insane fucking sheriffs are. Like, again, go to Mechanical Freak website, read the article about it.
Yeah,
but,
Sheriff's Gone Wild is the article. It's a couple of articles back.
Yeah. But let's just say the vast majority of sheriffs in this country believe and have pledged to the belief that they are actually the only legal representation of the law in America, meaning that nobody can tell them what to do and that they're allowed to do whatever they want.
And you know,
this is not
funny enough,
yeah,
they're right.
Yeah.
In the practical
they believe
sense.
it because in every way they're correct, right? That nobody will tell them what to do, right? And
just like any law enforcement,
yeah,
everything about our legal system is set up to protect them and to allow them to do whatever they want, whatever level of carnage and harassment and oppression. In addition to that, these motherfuckers are elected, and they have the legitimacy and power that goes with that. They cannot be touched by fucking anybody.
Yeah, so, you know, in that sort of that structure that allows them that they'll never be punished for anything they do also allows them to fit these horrifying sort of fantasies on top of themselves as well as being these lone wolves out to protect everyone else. And look, it's shocking there hasn't been a mass shooting yet from any of these fucking freaks, but let's be serious. I mean,
They have killed people.
They've
they
killed
haven't done
lots
any
of
mass
people at this
shootings
point.
yet.
I mean, it is interesting. I mean, you know, Carmen Best talks about like the everyday march or whatever of being this violent march, where it's like, how many people, you know, protesters in Seattle have been killed by the everyday march versus insane fucking motorists whipped up into a frenzy, people shooting into crowds and then vanishing in vans with no fucking license plate and shit, right? Like, you know, it's sort of one of these things of like, come on, where's the actual violence, right? There was, you know, and I believe it was in The Intercept, or no, it was in The Nation. They just had an article about Trump declaring Antifa a terrorist organization and trying to claim it has foreign ties. And as they pointed out, the DHS's own reports show that there's no murders related to Antifa, but there's about 10 to 15 murders a year related to right-wing groups who are killing Antifa members, right? But that's the reality, right? That's the groundwork that we have to lay out, right? And, you know, this march was met by this type of sort of violent response, which is the same response that civil rights marchers got in the fucking 60s and things like that. And it's important to understand nothing's changed, right? That they are willing to shoot and kill to protect, quote unquote, what is theirs, right?
Well, keep all this in mind as we continue on with Carmen Best's letter to the city council.
Carmen then assures the city council that the local sheriff is monitoring the situation. Again, local sheriff Adam Fortnoy. By the way, Adam Fortnoy ran on a campaign of Blue Lives Matter, and the first thing he did was there have been several sheriff's deputies who have been fired from Snohomish County Sheriff's Department for essentially gross negligence in the work. One for brutally assaulting somebody, I believe one for murdering somebody, and two for planting evidence on people. And Fortnoy promptly brought them all back within a month, right? So, you know, this is the type of guy we're looking at, right? So she goes on, I urge both of you and the entire council to stand up for what is right. These direct actions against elected officials, and especially civil servants like myself, are out of line with and go against every democratic principle that guides our nation. Before this devolves into the new way of doing business by mob rule here in Seattle and across the nation, elected officials like you must forcefully call for the end of these tactics. So a few things here. I mean, it goes against democratic principles to demand things from civil servants, for people to demand things from civil servants.
To march in the streets.
To march in a public street and demand things from
people
think is an interesting.
This is what these. I mean, you don't need any convincing, but this is how They all think, look,
Yeah.
this fucking freak in Snohomish, this
Yeah, yeah.
psycho who ran this campaign on like revanchism for the sheriff's department, basically. Total solidarity from Carmen Best.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Lock just arm in arm.
Probably why she moved. That's probably why she bought one of her mini residences.
She
in
fucking
Snohomish.
voted for the guy, most
Yeah.
likely.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, good, a
100%.
rank and file sheriff's deputy running for sheriff. Great. Who's gonna
Who believes
take a hard
everything
stance.
I believe.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Just like she voted for Trump.
Yeah. And, she talks about mob rule, which mob rule is apparently marching peacefully in the street and not, blocking off a public road with guns. And, I mean, again, this is one of the sort of trite things to do. But imagine if this were reversed, right? Imagine if a group of largely black residents blocked off Carmen Best's, route to work with trucks and guns and shit and told her that we're going to fucking murder you if you come any closer. Like, what do you think the city response would be?
Nukes.
Do you think that we would get
Tactical nukes,
letters in the Seattle Times going, crying about, oh no, where is civility gone? Or literal tactical nukes of like every residence in the city that was remotely suspect. I mean, it doesn't take much to show the obvious fucking horse shit of this whole thing. That, and I just love that it ends with the elected officials must forcefully call for the end of these tactics. Who does she think is in charge of these groups? Does she think Lisa Herbold is fucking meeting with the everyday march and be like, this is what you're going to do?
Confusion is from Jenny Durkin. Is like, at least Jenny Durkin was actually asking the council to do real things. But this is just like, it's just it's obviously just posturing. It's just so lame. It's like, I call on you to denounce these protesters. Like,
yeah. Well, I think something, especially since Carmen Best is a cop, is probably to keep in mind is that she probably really does believe that the Seattle City Council are like insurgent Maoists and that these are like their minions that they've released on the good people of Seattle or whatever. Like, she probably is that stupid.
Yeah, it's funny that even in the case of Shama Swamp, that's not even true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, like we, have mentioned earlier, I mean, these are people who live in an entirely different sort of ecosystem, right? And they do believe there is this, socialist conspiracy, right, to take over the world or whatever through Black Lives Matter protests, right? I guarantee you Carmen Best believes that.
I mean, there is... It's just not organized.
I fucking wish there was. I wish
no.
Was, like,
you know what? It's not a conspiracy.
Was.
There's a dream of that, but it does not rise to the level of a conspiracy because the American left cannot even muster the organization for a limited conspiracy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
essentially.
That's there's a dream.
Yeah,
I dream of that.
A conspiracy implies some amount of organization.
Yeah.
All right, so she closes out. She wants to acknowledge the situation, right? The events of this summer were initiated in a moment of grief and outrage over the murder of George Floyd by Minneapolis police officers and so many other black and brown people suffering at the hands of injustice. All of us must ensure...
At the hands of...
Injustice.
At the hands. She's, in the same sentence... metaphorically personifying the George Floyd's attacker, but in making it metaphorical is depersonifying it away from police and just turning it into injustice.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
injustice happened George Floyd was just in the wrong place at the right injustice or some shit. What the fuck?
And as we mentioned before,
Jesus.
While the George Floyd video is certainly horrifying, and it's certainly, I think, probably more nationally, the spark was actually seeing the protests in Minneapolis than the video itself. But
100%.
But the thing is, if the police weren't doing all the same things Minneapolis PD was doing in every city in America, this wouldn't be fucking happening. If Seattle PD hadn't just murdered somebody literally like the month before the George Floyd killing, people wouldn't be losing their fucking mind. Like, this is the thing. I mean, this is a little rhetorical trick that the mayor likes to play and Carmen Best likes to play. People in Seattle aren't mad at Minneapolis PD, right? They're mad at Seattle PD.
No one in Seattle at these
Seattle
marches
PD does. Yeah.
Dude, I have not thought about Minneapolis PD since that precinct burned down, and they said like the next day, "Oh yeah, we're gonna dismantle the police department." I was like, "Cool, whatever. I'll check in on them in a year." Okay.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit. This has nothing to do with anything.
So it's not at the hands of injustice, right? It's at the hands of the police.
Yeah. It's at the hands of.
But this is
one particular cop and an entire system of policing that put him there and backed him up.
Yeah. And the fact that they keep using this language is proof that they're not going to change, right? Like, they refuse to even acknowledge that this problem exists.
Dude,
right?
I did something fucking... Look, I didn't plan this. My mother called me. My mother called
Nobody plans for that, Greg.
Oh, God. My mother called me after the site of the youth jail was hit with tactical nukes.
Yeah.
The next day, I got a fucking call.
Greg, I was playing Modern Warfare 3, so I know those were tactical nukes.
And, so I had to have the fucking talk, which I have just not had. Because, I mean, dude.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, wow.
I actually think that every Thanksgiving you get the, like, your job as white people is to go back and, like, convince your family of shit. I actually think that's bullshit. Like, nobody's ever convinced their family of anything.
No.
If you live in a family where you can convince your parents of anything, you have my respect. My parents won't even listen to me talk, much less would listen to anything I said.
My mother's never, like, forget, like, her politics and her general... like really like enclosed ignorance of the world, has never like absorbed a word I've said in my life.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'll give her some credit. She listened for an hour and a half, and I wasn't nice about it.
Yeah.
Like it was basically an episode of this podcast. Okay, but like. It's hard to get through to people. How did I get off on this, Jag? This had a point. Why did I bring this up? What the fuck were we talking about? Oh, I don't know. Well, I was trying to find ways to like. There's so many layers. You can't even talk to someone because, like, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is capitalism, and it's like, there's so many layers to why, like, someone like my mother is like, just assumes at every level the cops are good people who are there to help me, and it's like, wow, man, that is starting from rock bottom. It's like, first of all, like, to even like to make someone like understand their own ignorance of the world, like, well, let me tell you about what a bunch of black and brown people who are not you think about the police. Again, to her credit, she's like, well, I mean, there must be something happening because there's so many people out in the street. And I was trying to explain to her, like, however many people you think are out in the street, multiply it by 100 because it's not getting covered that every day in every city there are still people fucking marching. And I've been in marches in this town of like 60,000 people.
Yeah.
But I came to, like, one of the things that, like, it had just happened that in New York they had just passed that new ordinance that like made using the chokehold a crime, and I walked her through the 30 years of chokehold politics.
Yep.
The 30 years of chokeholds being illegal in Minneapolis and in New York, or against policy. Then now New York making it actually like some kind of criminal offense. And then I think it was the PBA guy in New York. Maybe it was the SBA guy. Some union guy.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was some brass guy. I don't know. In New York was like to a group of cops like that. It happened that day. Listen, don't worry about this chokehold shit. No prosecutor is going to prosecute this. And then the prosecutor's office was like, oh yeah, I mean, if a cop is like happens to do a chokehold in the course of doing his duty properly, like, no, we're not going to touch that. And And my mom was like, that does seem pretty egregious. It's like, are you getting it?
Yeah.
No, but
No,
whatever. I don't know why I got on that jag, but
I think we were talking about the sort of dissimulating language of the.
They're not going to change. They're not going to do it. Like
yeah.
you can read these tea leaves.
Yeah.
Like from from Chief Best here. They're not gonna fucking do shit.
Yeah.
That is some egregious shit of the cops just saying, "Oh yeah, after 30 years of this, after Eric Garner in New York, after this, they're no, even now that it's literally a crime because that is the one minimal thing." I was telling my mother, "Don't worry, nothing's going to change."
Yeah.
Nothing. I was telling in Seattle, maybe all of this might achieve some tiny bit of first step in taking some power away, but probably that's going to be minimal and nothing's going to happen, and it's going to be a years-long fight, but everywhere else, absolutely dick,
Yeah, and the chokehold stuff. By the way, the controversy of the chokehold stuff goes back decades too.
Yeah.
In LA in the 80s, there was a very controversial killing where a cop choked a man to death, and Daryl Gates famously went on the news and said that black people had a genetic defect in their neck, that was why he died, and that it wasn't the chokehold's fault, it was the inferior genetics of black people. So, by the way, do you think that he was demoted from chief of police after that? No, he went ahead and served another decade.
Cool.
Took the LA riots to get rid of Gates.
Cool.
But yeah, so I mean, this is the mind of the police, right? So let's go ahead and, sort of finish this out, right? All of us must ensure that this righteous cause is not lost in the confusion of so many protesters.
Take this shit out of your mouth.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. The righteous cause she's talking about is definitely not anything anybody else is talking about. But it's now engaging in, we don't want it to get lost in the confusion of so many protesters now engaging in violence and intimidation, which many are not speaking against.
The opponent of protest is intimidation.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and again, the people blocking the public road with their vehicles and pulling guns on people in the public street, they are, of course, not engaged in violence or intimidation, right? The people murdering protesters with their cars, they're, of course, not engaged in violence or intimidation, right? The police tear gassing protesters, beating them, all that, arresting them, black bagging them, all that shit. Again, that's not violence and intimidation. What's violence and intimidation is going to Carmen Best, one of her many palatial estates, apparently, and yelling from the street, defund SPD.
Yeah, dude, Snohomish is not cheap. I don't know if you've ever been to Snohomish. You probably have. You've been
I work in Snohomish County. This isn't Snohomish County. It's not Snohomish, the city.
Oh, I thought it was...
This is out in, county territory, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Snohomish is a cute little town. Yeah, the thing is, we can talk about this right-wing hypocrisy all day.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter when you're talking about fascism. There is no...
Well, I think...
It's instrumental. What it just tells you is they want you all dead.
Yeah. And the key
They don't
thing
like
to remember
you, they
here,
want you dead.
Because this is the thing that always trips up the left, right? The key thing to remember here is they're not going to give you anything. And no amount of polite behavior on your side is going to convince them that you're human or deserve to live. All right?
Oh, absolutely not.
So stop trying to police the fucking protests. Stop fucking whining about, the protesters did this or that or whatever. I promise you, nobody on the right gives a shit. They hate you just the fucking same, all right? You're never going to be so classy that they decide you're human, all right?
Well, I mean,
that
I
is
think
a myth of the civil rights movement, and it didn't work then. It's not going to work now.
I think the hope when you're when you hear those arguments is getting liberals on your side, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, they're also never going to join you.
Yeah, they're really not. Again, they will create their own things to shut you up, the minimal reforms of the civil rights movement that ultimately have amounted to nothing.
Yeah, because look at where we're at.
And so, they'll come on side for some things like that to shut it down. But yeah, with the fascists, they just want you dead. They don't care. They don't like you. I'm not just talking about, black and brown people. I'm talking about black and brown people and anyone who doesn't agree with them.
Yeah.
Talking about
the majority of people who live in this country,
Yes.
basically, you know.
the left certainly.
Yeah.
Are
You
queer
too poor
people,
for them so that you're an
poor
eyesore?
people?
Yeah. You know. Do you not have the sexual predilections they have? Well, guess what? You're fucked too, right? It's the whole sort of kit
They
and
just
caboodle.
don't like you.
Yeah. And the historical reality is the liberals always side with the fascists. They've never not sided with them, so fuck them too, all right? I mean, that's what it sort of comes down to. So, on that positive note, let's read a Seattle Times editorial.
Well, first, hang on. There was news today.
Oh, go ahead.
In the fight in this town to maybe marginally curtail the power of SPD. The city council met to vote on budget amendments for the rest of the year today. Honestly, it's hard to piece together everything. Again, I was fucking working. I didn't get to go to the march today, which I was really profoundly looking forward to. But what we learned last week after this was postponed, and then is that like the ultimate proposals were pretty fucking weak.
Yep.
Basically, even going into this, the stuff was fucking weak. And what I can piece together so far from trying to read some things on Twitter, because nothing is out in like full written form yet here, as far as I can tell. Looks like they did vote to just shut down the navigation team.
Yeah.
Which that's good.
Yeah,
to the extent that it's part of funding. They did do some minor defunding, it seems.
Yeah.
So in the case of the NAV team, they specifically denied them that funding. It sounds like for the rest of the year, again, we're just talking about the rest of the 2020's budget, really, that is, for most of this stuff, is going to basically mean for November and December. Taking away the NAV team, that's a nice symbolic thing. It's a big thing people have wanted. Keep in mind that the NAV team is just like a PR screen that it allows when the city goes to roust up homeless people in encampments in a manner that the aid organizations that have previously offered services to unhoused populations don't even want to be a part of and have walked away from. They're able to call it the navigation team when it's really a bunch of cops just going and rousting people, and then the garbage company shows up and throws the stuff away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, as we've said in the show multiple times, it's just a fig leaf. It's important, as you said, to just sort of double down on this. The actual aid organizations to homeless groups that were in the navigation team all quit the navigation team because of how brutal the police were being at these things. And now it's just cops, right? And so, I think the line from Durkin and from others has been, the city council doesn't care about homelessness. But to pretend the navigation teams were helping with homelessness, I mean, how fucking insane.
Well, and the thing is, so now this takes away that fig leaf. So now when they send the cops to roust people,
which they will continue to do,
the exact same things. They just won't be able to say the navigation team. Mm-hmm. What they will, what they will say is, what Durkin will say is, yes, this was swept today. We did this. Unfortunately, the navigation team was defunded, so we didn't have the same, people going out there with the same blah blah blah, and every bit of this is going to be fought forever until the end of time.
Yeah, basically until SPD has 10 times the budget they have right now, they're going to whine and complain about this. And yeah, you're exactly right. The line is going to be that we had to go through and beat all the homeless people to death with batons because you defunded the navigation team. And it's going to be really important to hold the line that the police shouldn't be interacting with the homeless at all.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form. We know from actual academic research that, sending the police to deal with the homeless is really about gentrification and property values. It has nothing to do with helping the homeless. So they should stop. They should just stop interacting with them in any way. They shouldn't even fucking look at them. If they get near a homeless person, you should be allowed to shoot at them.
I mean, yeah,
Like-
but change that to any person.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But I'm just talking about the nav team
yes, for the nav
specifically.
team.
So
But they're
you're
still
gonna have
gonna
to
do
hold
it.
the line when they complain about this and say, "Look, we had to murder all the homeless because we didn't have a navigation team." You're gonna have to hold the line on this. The police shouldn't be around the homeless at all, anyways.
Yeah. So I guess if I'm just piecing this together, this just happened. So, I just got off work, but like, if I'm piecing this together right, I guess they did pass an amendment that cut an amount of money equal to 32 officers. This is all very sketchy because it's like, it depends on what officers, and they're acknowledging in it that like they'll probably end up firing most of the lowest, like newest people, which sucks in a way. But I guess that did pass. But what's funny about this is even like Peterson was for this, and he got to get up. I saw some quotes where he's like, "Yes, this is an important moment. We do need to cut back the police department in these ways so that we can spend another way." Blah blah blah. Like acting like he's in support of this shit, and it's like it's easy for him. This is perfect. This is such a small, like nothing achievement here that he gets to do that, and like that's fine. The whole system has done its job and cut this down to the bone.
Yeah.
That he gets to jump on in this and pass this trifle that still is going to run into a million challenges, even making this actually come to fruition. Like actually reducing the number by the end of the year, reducing the number of SPD officers by, again, the number I'm looking, the estimate here, 32. Watch it be 0 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like, because there are a lot of hurdles here. So Peterson gets to like go, yeah, I'm totally in support of cutting this insanely small number of dollars out of the budget. Oh yeah, George Floyd, etc. Better news. So Shama had that amendment where she wanted to like limit like city pay to 150K.
Yeah.
And which is because most of the highest paid people are cops.
Yeah.
And
Carmen Best included, who gets I think $300 a year.
Yeah.
So remember that when you're getting
rich.
tear gassed by her, you know, and you're worried about your $600 unemployment check.
They're the best paid people. Well, that they figured out, I guess, that actually like because we're more than like halfway through the fucking year, a lot of those people, Best included, under their current pay terms, have already earned more than 150,000. So if you limited their year end to 150,000, they've already worked for it. So it doesn't work. I mean, be wage theft essentially. That's a valid way to look at it in a way. So that was amended to cut it down, I guess, to the lowest level of their current pay grade, which whatever contractually they figured this works, they can do it. So that means this is a big pay cut to this like 20 top brass at SPD, including cuts Carmen Best pay for the year down to $171,000. Oh, way down. Now,
damn.
$171,000 is still an insane amount of money. But holy shit, will she be pissed if this actually happens?
Yeah.
Will they all be fucking livid? Imagine working, first 7 months of the year, and then thinking you're making, I don't know, a fucking $500 an hour, only to realize it was only $350.
Yeah.
All that time. Oof. That is gonna hurt.
Well, we might find out if SPD has tactical nukes or not after this. But I mean, these are the things that the city council can actually legitimately do: is just pull the purse string and sort of choke these fuckers out that way.
Yeah. Well, it's all gonna be challenged in court. Yeah. It's all gonna be. Look,
I mean, you're right. This is the way it happens, right? Is that it's always worth keeping in mind that no matter what the council passes, nobody actually has to do it, right? Because the actual language is power. So they can tie it up in court. They can drag it, right? They can, basically work on the council members for months until they repeal it, right? They can have, apparently, Jeff Bezos call the fucking city council and make them vote it down, right? Like has happened before in this city.
This is all only just for this year,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Yeah.
part of this, some on the council will argue that part of this is hard because this year's already in progress. Like, it's a harder budget process to do this, and that they're doing their best, and they plan to do more for the 2021 budget. We'll fucking see.
Now,
but
Shama
the thing
Sawant
is,
responded to that though, and she said, when they laid off 200 fucking Metro bus drivers, for some reason this wasn't the big issue that it is now, right?
Well,
that apparently was
that's more
easy
related
to do.
the fact that what that was about was the concern raised that, like, these are essentially union negotiations, that you can't, that, like, one of the things they want to do is, what Best and and Durkin have said for now the last month is, like, well, if we cut officers, it's going to have to be the least senior people, which means a lot of those are our most diverse hires, the newer they are, because and so basically, and Durkin said this in the press conference yesterday, like, the council's essentially calling us to fire people based on race.
Yeah, now
one of the most, like, shockingly cynical thing to say, and obviously just absolutely disgusting. But yeah, that's what again, this is bullshit. There's a ton of ways you can. What we need to do is get rid of the worst cops, and you can do that. There are processes. Yes, they'll be able to appeal them, and it's a court process too. But yeah, Shama's like, then none of this was all fretted over when you laid off fucking anyone else.
Yeah, and the big thing is as everybody following it pointed out, that you have to lay off the first or the last hired or whatever is actually not true. The police chief can make choices about who gets laid off. And so basically what Best and Durkin are telling you, again, this is like if you take away our navigation team, we'll have to murder the homeless.
Yeah.
What they're telling you is, if you take away our funding, we're going to have to fire every black officer except for me, Carmen Best, right?
Yeah.
They're basically saying, why are you making us hurt you? It's what was the old Israeli saying? I just can't countenance the Palestinians making us kill their children.
Yeah,
it's that. It's astoundingly cynical shit, which just shows again these people aren't going to change.
Well, look,
there's nothing in them that will allow.
And there's a whole system that's going to be arrayed to stop this.
Yeah.
Okay, the legal system. Okay, forget the union fucking appeals to the courts. You've got the consent decree.
Yeah.
Right?
Judge Robarts could ironically literally step in and be like, no, reforming Seattle PD is against the consent decree around reforming Seattle PD.
Well, this consent decree was started, this is the legacy of Obama, right? They started in a bid to look like they were doing fucking anything, I guess. They started some consent decrees, the Holder Justice Department on some police departments, and then didn't really do anything with them, dragged them out for years, let them fester. And now
they were busy boxes for local people, people that were leading like local insurgencies against the police. They handed this consent decree, which is a busy box for them to play with, while nothing ever happened.
And
right?
now
the
Justice Department is run by Donald Trump and Bill Barr, and they have a pretty different view, and so they have sued along with the mayor to block this shit, and they already successfully got a temporary injunction from Robard on the tear gas repeal, the tear gas outlaw,
Yeah.
So, like, this is real. All of this shit is subject to review by the federal government in the form of the Justice Department and the federal courts, which is fucking nuts, and it's going to be hard. Now, there's a lot more to say about that, and we're going to read an editorial that gets into a lot of this from the good old Seattle Times Ed Board on what the fuck is it called?
It's just called "Judge Should Assess Seattle Police Defunding Plan."
Oh, Judge should assess. Yes. Look, Capitol will. They're in power. They have the power. They only use as much power as they need to use in any given moment.
Of course.
And the more we push, the more they're going to do this. We're going to read this and talk about all this shit in the Patreon.
All right, so join us in the Patreon episode where we know our new managing editor, Roy, will be joining us. He actually controls all of our opinions now, so if you don't like them, blame him.
Yeah.
And happy birthday, Roy.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see you guys in the Patreon. All right. Bye.
Bye.